Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and it's RitterSC2 back with another surprise for you. I've decided to cast a pro game. I pulled this off online, and it was uploaded 8 days ago by Desrow here, who is a extremely popular streamer. And I asked him if it was okay to cast his games, and he said sure. So here we go. Here on the right, on Shatter Temple, is Desrow, who is an extremely popular streamer. He streams pretty much every day. He's Canadian. He's an awesome Protoss. He frequently does well in the weekly cups, places in the semis, the quarters, quite often. And his opponent over here is QxG.Darkcell, who you've probably heard about QxG lately with their huge partnership with Team IM in Korea. And Darkcell is one of the members of the team. He's not one of the ones who's going to Korea, but he is still a very good Zerg. And I actually stood behind him while he was playing one of his games at Orlando, MLG Orlando, and he was pretty impressive. So this is going to be a game between Desrow and Darkcell. A little bit different from my usual, lower level games, but I'm just trying to see if I can test my hand at casting a pro game and see how I do there. As we can see over here, Darkcell is getting his spawning pool first. He wants to be as safe as possible. He doesn't want to hatch first against a Protoss who could potentially be Forge FEing. But as we can see from Desrow, he's wanting to play it as relatively safe as he can, and he's getting a gateway up to block off his ramp and getting gas in normal time, and just scouting around with this probe. Yeah, as I said before, I was at Orlando, and it was actually really awesome. Any of you who are considering going to an MLG in the future, I highly recommend it. I mean, there's just really no difference, or there's no way to explain how awesome it is to actually be able to see the games live instead of on the stream. It's really quite an experience. And but getting back to the game, as we can see, Darkcell's getting out just 4 Zerglings. You don't want to overmake Zerglings with your 3 larvae that you'll have after the spawning pool, and getting a queen. With the 4 Zerglings, he's just going to go around, scout, tag the watchtowers. He's going to send his Zerglings, try and sort of poke up the ramp, see what he can see Desrow is doing. And Desrow just pulling a little bit of tricky micro here, trying to prevent the hatchery and dropping down a pylon to block that off. And he's going to cancel that pylon, obviously. Darkcell's just pushing out with the Lings, going to do a little scouting, and Darkcell's got his expansion up. As we can see, once the Zealot pops out, his Wallen's going to be complete, and he's not going to have to worry about these Lings, getting up into his main, scouting all of his tech. He can see that he's now got his second gas, but that Zealot should get there in time to block off the space. So we can see the Zergling's rushing up, and okay, yeah, there we go. You see, and the Zergling is pushed away. Since he took both his gas, he's going to be wanting to sort of get something gas heavy. So probably either one gate, get some sentries out, and then expand, or perhaps get up to a couple more gates, put on a little pressure, and expand off of that pressure. There's not really that much you can do off 3 gates. You can't end the game or anything, but you can certainly force some larvae to be turned into Lings and not drones. And just, we can see here Desrow pushing out and picking off that little pesky Ling. As we can see here, the probe is just coming down to no doubt drop down that Nexus. I don't see, yeah, there we go. And getting another gateway with the extra minerals he had because of the delayed Nexus. Over here on Darkcell's side, he just transferred his drones over. Got his hatchery fully up, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. He's getting Zergling speed, which, as we know, is a pretty good upgrade to have, and he is looking to go somewhat Ling heavy. I mean, that's a pretty effective versus Protoss. Ling Infester is good in the early to mid game, and Desrow over here is just continuing to pump out sentries. Sentries are going to enable him to defend against pretty much all Ling aggression, and it's basically your custom map alterer. You can form the map as you see fit. Taking out that Ling never stood a chance. Even though they are tickle rays, they still do some damage. One Ling's not going to be enough. And as we can see here, Darkcell's making quite a few lings. He's obviously worried about this little aggression from Desrow, but Destrow's going to be smart and just pull back with this. He forced the lings, and that was basically his entire goal of that little aggression there. It wasn't to inflict any damage, just inflict some, alternate damage by causing those larvae to be lings instead of drones. And just now he can sit back here comfortably and macro up without having to be totally outclassed by Darkcell. As we can see over here, Darkcell is getting up his Roachworn. Where's his Roachworn at? Okay, here's something a little clever that he's doing. He's getting his Roachworn and his Evo Chamber to create sort of a little wall-off to sort of funnel any aggression away from this, and so he can't really rush in. The Zealots or the entire army's not going to be able to just... The entire army's going to have to deal with this before he can do anything else. And as we can also see, he got all these lings, and at least he's putting them to use. He's, taking out the rocks. He took out the rocks over here. I mean, if you're going to have the lings, instead of just letting them sit there, it's much better to, have an active map presence and do something with them instead of, over-making lings and then not doing anything. And as we can see over here with Desrow, he's just dropped down his Robo. He's going to want to be getting out some Colossus as sort of a counter to the Zerg numbers, unless he scouts, early Spire, in which case he might want to, drop down the Templar Archive. Forgot what it was for a second there. And as we can see, the lings were not able to do anything because of the sentries. Those force fields are really, really effective. As we can see, the lings are coming back, but he's got enough force fields here that it's not going to be a problem. And as we can see here, Darkcell expanded, took his third, and has almost nothing to worry about as far as, aggression soon from Desrow. Desrow dropped down his Twilight Council. He's wanting to tech up, get Blink. Yep, there we go. Blink Stalkers are extremely effective versus Zerg, especially with, upgraded weapons. They can do a lot of effective damage. And as you can see here, the Hallucinated Phoenix is, an extremely good way to scout as Protoss. I mean, you don't have to spend money getting up in the tech tree to get Stargate. You don't even have to, waste money. It's just energy from the sentries, and it's more than worth it to find out the tech tree of your opponent. And as we can see here, he's flying over. He scouts the Infestation Pit and the Roachworn, so he knows that Darkcell's probably going to be going for sort of, a Roach Infestor heavy play. It's really effective with fungal growth. Neural Parasite has been nerfed extremely. It's almost not worth using anymore, but it's still effective against, Colossus. And as we can see here, he dropped the Robo Bay down in order to start the Colossus production, and 6 Infestors on the way from Darkcell. So now that he's got the Pathogen Glands out, he's going to be able to cast Fungals instantly from those Infestors. As you can see down here, the Lings are coming in to sort of scout out that third base to see if they can do a little run by, but the Stalkers here by Desrow prevented them from doing any damage, and a couple Lings were lost in addition to that. As we can see here, it looks like Darkcell's gearing up to maybe do some drops in the future with his Overlords. Infestor drops are actually really effective. You can just drop them in, either fungal the mineral lines or use Infested Terran to take out tech buildings or gateways. It's actually an extremely effective way to harass the Protoss in mid to late game. And again, he's just staying active with his Lings on the field. Just keeping an eye on everything. He knows that he can be pretty certain that this third base is up from Desrow. I don't know if he actually scouted it. No, he never actually scouted it, but because the Blink Stalkers were there, he knows that Desrow is defending this for a reason, and just dropping down 3 gateways and a couple cannons to defend that from a Ling run by. And a focused assault here is going to break through, but against a couple Lings thrown there at a later point in the game, it's not going to do much damage. And as we can see, he's just continuing to warp in Stalkers and pump out the Colossus. He's getting Extended Thermal Lance. He's getting Ground Weapons level 2, and just looking to power up and get that powerful ball that Protoss is known for. But as we can see here, it's kind of a terrifying army from Darkcell here. Lots of Infestors. All of them have the ability to cast Fungal Growth, and he's got the supply advantage with not that terribly many drones over Desrow. So the army is probably somewhat hefty. He's looking to come in and hit this area from the third, protecting the third, and we'll see what he does with this. It's he got his Spire. He's taking up to Hive. Broodlords are really, really good against Protoss Deathballs. I mean, Broodlords decimate, especially when the army's fungled in place. It's pretty bad. And here he is attacking. Just speed up these Infested Terran. The Infested Terran are just going to be able to, basically destroy this wall really fastly. Really quickly. Whatever. As we can see, the Roaches, the Lings, and the Infested Terran are able to, focus down. They took out one gateway, almost took out another, took out all the cannons, and by the time Desrow got here, they basically left. None of the important units of Darkcells were taken out in that, and basically all those Lings that he lost were very easily remade. As we can see, Desrow's just continuing to pump out Colossus, continuing to warp in Stalkers, and this is a little dangerous. Oh, never mind, it's been walled back up. So these Lings are not going to have anything to worry about. He's just doing a little poking. And the Roaches must have moved forward for a little bit of an attack, but nothing came of it. This army by Desrow is too powerful to take out with merely 6 Roaches. He's going to need a lot more than that. And, oh, this is interesting. Gravitic boosters. I think that's the Warp Prism speed upgrade from the Robo Bay. Looks like Desrow is looking to maybe do a little Warp Prism harass. It's pretty effective versus... Oh, he's getting Gravitic boosters, which increases the movement speed of observers. Whatever. Warp Prisms can be very effective versus Zerg, as seen by Liquid Hero. He used them very effectively. Oh, looks like they had a little bit of a pause. Glare is never a good thing while playing. But as we can see, these Lings managed to make it by, which, 2 of them did. The rest were cut off by those force fields. Again, just showing the effectiveness of those force fields. And the rest of the Lings are just going to be, absolutely obliterated by all of this Protoss army. And as we can see here, he is in fact getting at a Warp Prism. Right there. And, oh man, that's a lot of Corruptors on the way. Darkcell has tons of Corruptors. He has 3 on the field, and I think... Wow. He's got 9 on the field, 3 on the way. 12 Corruptors. That's... not only are the Corruptors good against the Colossus, but also Corruptors are necessary to turn into Broodlords, which are extremely effective late game versus Protoss. And Destrow's been on the ball constantly with these upgrades, chrono boosting out. He's now up almost to level 3 weapons, and on the other end of the field, Darkcell's not even started the level 3 ranged ground upgrade. So it'll be interesting to see how the difference in upgrades plays out. With his Warp Prism, he's floating along with Zealots. Zealots are really good for taking out expansions, and we'll have to watch this drop as it goes by. Oh, yep, that Overlord spotted it pretty easily, and Desrow's just going to move that out of there. He's got another one coming in here. He's getting his Dark Shrine out, which is even more effective than Zealots in some ways. And oh, here the push is coming in. He's pushing in, trying to distract Darkcell with his big army coming in. And while he does that, he just drops these down here, warps in over here, just keeps him distracted while he does that. Is he going to be able to force the cancel on this hatchery? Yeah, definitely. Nothing is coming out by Darkcell, and he might just manage to kill it. I don't know. Let's see. Down to... Oh, yep, there he did cancel it. Even so, forcing a cancel is still pretty effective. You want to keep the Zerg in check as best you can, and the Corruptors are flying in here to pick off this Warp Prism. And down here, oh, we've got 4 DTs, Dark Templars, and they might manage to take out that Hive. I don't know. Fungal growth from the Infestors does uncloak them, so if he manages to fungal the DTs, then he can pick them off with the rest. Oh, but they managed to take out the Hive. So that's a pretty huge loss for Darkcell. I mean, he's got to regain all of that tech. He's got to... it's really bad. He can't make more tech buildings, and it's just a very bad situation. Although this base was pretty much mined out, that's not a big deal. But just the effectiveness of this harass is amazing. He's almost taken out this macro hatch. He's taken out the spawning pool. This is just... It looks like Desrow is just picking him apart at this point. He almost got this macro hatch. 29 health left, but he did escape with the warp prism and all those DTs. And just sitting here in the middle of the map with his main army, he's got pretty much nothing to worry about. As you can see over here, he's got, oh man, he's got 9 Broodlords, which is a huge amount of Broodlords. Luckily, he managed to get those out before the hive was taken out. Although I don't think you need the hive if you already have the Greater Spire. But if he does lose that Greater Spire, he's going to need to get back up to hive tech before that. And as we can see here, both players are getting pretty high in their, resources stockpiled. And Darkcell's just combating this by getting macro hatches to have more larvae. And here he is pushing out with the Broodlord force, just picking off this proxy pylon. And these infestors are going to be able to, fungal the blink stalkers in place, so the blink stalkers can't blink forward and take out the Broodlords. It's the fungal keeps them in place, the Broodlords destroy them. And as we can see here, the map is pretty much split in half. Desrow is just continuing to be active on the map with his warp prism, taking out bases as best he can. And here come the Broodlords, laying siege to this. We'll have to see how Desrow plans to engage this. Oh, here he goes. He blinks forward. He takes out one Broodlord, takes out the second, and force fielding off these roaches. But does he have enough? Does he have enough? These Broodlords are doing tons and tons of damage. Yep, looks like he's going to have to retreat because there's just too many Broodlords here. He did get 3 Stargates and is now producing 4 Stargates. He's producing 4 Void Rays, 4 at a time. He's getting air weapons level 1. He's getting ground armor level 2. And if he can get those Void Rays out in time, he should be able to, defend this pretty well. But that's a lot of Broodlords, and that's a lot of infestors still alive. The Colossus are doing the best they can to take out the Broodlings, but the Broodling Strike does damage on its own, and he blinks forward with these Blink Stalkers. The Void Rays doing as much damage as they can. He is still even managing to stay active with the Warp Prism, but the Void Rays just, focusing as much as they can, taking out the Broodlords, and the supply is not looking good for Desrow here. Darkcell is trying to remax as fast as he can, but it doesn't look like he has the larva necessary. On the other hand, Desrow is able to replenish very quickly. He still has 4 Colossus. He has 2 more on the way. He's got 4 Void Rays coming out at a time. And it looks like with this Observer sitting right over here over these infestors, he's not going to have a problem picking up these infestors. Look at how fast they died to this 4 Colossus. This is crazy. It doesn't look good for Darkcell now. Now that Desrow managed to defend that huge attack with all those Broodlords, it doesn't look good for Darkcell if Desrow decides to, counter and push. And look at that. These DTs, again, manage to be super effective. Take out the Greater Spire. The Broodlords are going to be the biggest, the biggest help in defeating this Death Ball that Desrow can easily remax now that he's got all these production facilities. But again, all this larva that Darkcell managed to get by getting all of these macro hatches is allowing him to get tons and tons and tons of lings. Getting melee attacks level 2. He's replenishing with 40 lings on the way. It's pretty crazy. But if we look at the units tab, 6 Void Rays, 5 Colossus. It's a lot of units. He's got 2 Warp Prisms on the way too. But that's a lot of infestors too. All of these Void Rays getting infested with fungal growth, casting infested Terrans, but the infested Terran are just going to die so fast. All these Colossus, all these Blink Stalkers. And he forced back the army of Darkcell. At this point, he's trying to re-get his fire. The Blink Stalkers blinking forward, picking off these infestors. This is not good for Darkcell. Throwing out that fungal, nice fungal, keeping about half of the Blink Stalkers in check. And these Overseers just rushing in to sort of get a scout on the situation. These Lings coming in for a run by, picking off all these probes. That's not good. If we look at the income tab, it's, wow, a lot of drones are gone for Darkcell. Both in making buildings, in that harass that Desrow has kept up this entire game. Awesome harass. If we look here, it's getting in tons more Zealots to pick off this Macrash that was almost dead from before. And just, Desrow showing how effective, having a constant presence on the map can be. Just, having a couple Warp Prisms moving around, warping in stuff, picking off tech buildings, picking off macro hatches. It's really effective, while your main army can defend against the big push. And as you can see here, Darkcell's maxed up again. Lots of roaches. 46 roaches. and coming over here to block this zealot harass. But when it comes down to this final battle, it'll just be, you know, Max versus Max, and it's, I don't know how many corruptors he has. He has only 4 corruptors. That's not going to be enough to deal with all of these Colossus, all of those Void Rays, and just the might of the Protoss army is going to be too much. A couple High Templars even to feed back these Infestors. I mean, all of those 0 energy. That was just a horrible engagement for Darkcell. But at that point, yep, there we go. That was basically a clinic on how to, you know, keep a constant presence on the map up, and how effective just a little bit of harass can be. So I hope you guys like this this first pro game ever casted. It was a longer game than usual, and hopefully I'll be able to do more of this in the future. But don't worry, I won't forget about representing the lower leagues. We'll still have some lower leagues replays up, and keep watching out for me, guys.